Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Bulletproof Dental Practice Podcast. Today, I'm flying solo. I'm Peter Boulden, one of the co-hosts of the Bulletproof Dental Practice Podcast. Craig opted to just let me roll with this because I'm going over something pretty technical. And those of you who listen to the podcast know that we have complementary strengths, and mine is more in the tactical and the operational and the checklist, as he likes to bust on. And that's good. So this is just a tool that I thought was really helpful. And since I use it, I use it quarterly. And I just thought it would be something to bring awareness to. And I know other people in dentistry have spoken about this tool, but it is helpful, not to execute perfectly, but to really just spend some time and think about the process. So this is called a SWOT analysis. And I know many of you have probably heard of that before. And what it stands for is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so I think this is imperative to do at minimum. Like I said, in the beginning of the year, I try to do it every quarterly. I actually set it on my calendar because these things tend to fluctuate by quarter. And if you don't audit kind of where you are in a lot of these processes, then you will either miss opportunities or you could put yourself in harm's way, potentially. A lot of times, in our summits, we talk about how, unfortunately, a lot of us business owners keep our head in the sand and just say, oh, if I don't look up, nothing's happening. But there are threats coming, there's opportunities coming, and there's things that we need to identify in our ecosystem, the strengths and weaknesses. So this is, we actually have created a Bulletproof guide for this, a handout, and you can download this. If you're listening to this, you can download it. If you're watching this, you can, there should be a link in the show notes, but I'm going to make it pretty easy. So just go to Bulletproof, SWOT, Bulletproof, SWOT, all one word.com. And that will forward you right to our website, which will contain this PDF that you can download, print out, and follow along, or just run point yourself and go ahead and do it. So let me think. Without further ado, I'll just kind of jump into it. Again, as the CEO, a lot of us are the CEO of our practice, and I just think it's good. It's a great way to guide business strategy meetings, and you could do it with your team. I've done it with my team, and actually a kickoff yearly meeting. I've done it actually just this year. Of course, 2020 things have changed things. I couldn't anticipate some of those threats. But, especially, the COVID threat, of course. But it's really impactful because, especially if you get because sometimes you get so stuck in the weeds, meaning that we as owners or practitioners are very myopic about what we think the problem is. But I like to incorporate other people's impressions of what they think our strengths are, weaknesses, or opportunities and threats. So I like to crowdsource that and get consensus among the team so that we can then move forward with adoption or fixing or action items, whatever it is. And awareness is the key, and execution is kind of secondary after that. But first, you have to identify the problem. And like Pearson's law, lots of times once we identify it, once we kind of commit to it, and once we focus on it, things change, usually in our benefit. So let me go ahead and just share my screen, and we will go right into this PowerPoint. Let me move this out of here. Okay, so as you can see, I'm gonna move my camera here a little bit. As you can see, that the first column is the strengths. And these are things that, what do we, so the questions you're going to ask yourself or your team, and get in a quiet place. If you're by yourself, carve out some time. Don't really carve out the best creative time that you do whether it's morning, whether it's evening, but isolated time where you can really put some thought to this. Don't just check the box with the SWOT analysis. So what do we do well? What does the practice do well? And you can even actually look at yourself. What do I do well? What might others see as our strengths? What might others see as my strengths? And what unique resources can we draw on? So I'm going to stay focused here. And I just went with I'm doing a hypothetical, right, to help guide people through this. And of course, some of these things that I put down as just hypothetical strengths could potentially be weaknesses, or they could be opportunities, or they could be threats. But typically opportunities and threats are external things, and the strengths and weaknesses are internal things. So what do we do well? For instance, we may be amazing at marketing. We may be amazing at the patient experience. The location of our practice or the visibility of our practice, great. Our culture is great. Our website traffic's great. Case presentation's great, right? Here's the things we do well. So when we identify the strengths of what we have, we want to double down on those, right? We want to really capitalize on our strengths. And then we want to shore up our weaknesses as we kind of move forward. So these are the things you want to focus on. Say, hey, let's do more of that, right? Because your inputs typically are uncorrelated to your outputs, meaning that if you just have a marketing machine, typically your outputs outweigh your inputs. Same with patient experience. Like, how do we optimize that? How do we create awareness about our team culture? If our web traffic is great, are we converting where the rubber meets the road for new patients? Things like that. Okay. So what are our weaknesses? And again, truly hypotheticals. Yeah. Our marketing is good, but our social media kind of sucks. Or, our website is great, but our mobile website speed is horrible. And that's really crushing us. Or, we're having a hard time with management or of our ads and marketing, or we're having a leadership problem, or we're having infighting or gossiping, right? I'm just giving kind of examples because sometimes when you hear something, you'll say, that's a strength or that's a weakness. Because a lot of times we get stuck in like, well, I don't know what these things are. And right. And maybe another weakness is, our equipment's outdated, or, it's old, or our location is not very visible, or, we have Sally who is really disruptive to the culture of, it can actually be, Sally could be a weakness to your team, and you may know it. And a lot of dentists, we know sometimes the person that needs to go, and we are just too resistant to let it happen. So moving along, opportunities. Where are there things to our practices? And of course, you have to be in this mindset of typically in a growth mindset to kind of be open to the idea of opportunities. You have to really put yourself in a place of abundance, not so much scarcity. Because if you're kind of shrinking, then you're really not open to the idea of opportunities. So potentially, are you looking at new locations? If you are, where's the best place to find, right? That's going to serve your demographic that you typically serve. Are you going to do a brand extension? Are you going to do another? Is it going to be a house of brands or a branded house? Meaning you're going to have the same brand in two locations, or are you going to have an independent autonomous brand, a new one? I'm getting a little granular there, I know. Do you have marketing opportunities for a niche marketing opportunity, whether it's not just marketing as a whole, but have you gotten really into all-in-4s or implants or sleep apnea or whatever it is, right? Like, is there an opportunity in your community? Is there an opportunity in your demographic? Is there an opportunity from a paid ad management perspective, right? Is there high opportunity and low cost kind of thing? That's of course an opportunity. Do we have opportunities for internal leadership and growth? Do we have opportunities for our own, as the CEO or the person who's doing this? Is there personal opportunities for leadership or growth, or learning about something, or creating a new skill? Do we want to focus? Do we have opportunities to create enrollment that's better, case enrollment, or our new patient numbers a little anemic based on the strengths of our website having great traffic, right? Like, why are we having a disconnect, right? Why are those uncorrelated? And then lastly, looking at threats, right? Looking at threats and these are again more external than anything. Whether it's DSO consolidation, or DSOs growing up in our practice. Big threat, obviously, we've all dealt with recently was the pandemic threat. Didn't really see that one coming, right? In the beginning of the year, I did not have that on my SWOT analysis of being closed for 2.5, 3 months. Do we have a lack of digital tech in our office, right? That's a threat because it's creating impediment as other people get more technologically advanced practices. Do we have a brand awareness threat, right? Meaning that other people are on the rise in terms of their awareness, and we don't have that. Are there threats of reputation management or bad reviews? Are we in a scarcity mindset or an abundance mindset? And again, there's as I kind of just went through like a plethora of examples. This isn't a guide. This is just to show you what could do. And there's not really any rules, which is the cool thing about this, is that it's really, really, like I said in the beginning, it's really just a place to go ahead and make an exercise of it, really put some thought to it. And then if you're doing it by yourself, and if you want to keep that private, maybe share it with your practice manager and say, hey, do you agree with this? And if so, is there anywhere on this sheet we can take action? And you can take action in every column, because again, double down your strengths, shore up your weaknesses, look for opportunities, and then kind of keep your threats as an awareness perspective, right? Keeping your head on a swivel. What do we need to do? What could really bring us down? Who's trying to put us out of business? That's actually one question I ask all the time is there, and I actually think that all the time. There's people actively trying to put us out of business. What can I do to prevent that from happening? And awareness, like I said, is just a powerful thing. So this really is something that I would encourage you to download. Again, go to Bulletproof SWOT, Bulletproof SWOT.com, and it's going to forward you right into where you can download something, and it'll bring you into our Bulletproof ecosystem kind of thing, where you'll get emails and notifications. Although we haven't ever set out an email, but it'll be notifications where you can learn about our summits or the mastermind or events that we've got going on, and hopefully we can, in light of that last thing I talked about, the pandemic, hopefully we can launch one this year. But just cool stuff we're doing, and that's it. Hope everyone has a great day today, and be bulletproof. See ya.